This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and I'll show
give me the blue pill.
What? No, that's the one to stay.
Yeah, I know. Give me the blue pill.
But you're supposed to save humanity. You take the red pill.
Hey, dude, calm down. I do not want to live in this world that you have.
I haven't even told you what the world is yet. You don't even know.
Okay, just let me guess. It's some computers that have taken over and they use this as like food or something. Is that right? Along the lines?
Yes, they harvest humans for energy.
Okay, exactly. I don't want to live in that. I would like to eat steak and I would like to be with my family. Okay? Even if they're not real.
Don't you want to learn kung fu and meet the woman in the red dress?
I don't need to know kung fu. Who's this woman in the red dress? I'm married with kids. I'd rather stay with them.
Neo, I can't explain this to you enough. You're going to save humanity.
And I'd rather just be at home, chilling on the computer with my cat.
Cats don't exist in this timeline.
What?
They've all been slayed by the Sentinels.
They slayed the cats?
Yes.
Shit.
Slay the cat. Slay the cat. Podcast.
Slay the cat is speaking truth. Slay the cat is proof. Hear us talk your favorite film. Slay the cat is juiced. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast.
What's up to all my pod people out there? Welcome to Slay the Cat, a movie podcast. It's Action August, and I am your leather duster wearing host, Joey. Poosh, poosh, poosh. Look out, incoming! Yeah, that was all us. I don't know. Aaron, do you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm his wife, who just can't seem to get downloaded into the submissive wife skills. Aaron.
Downloaded into the submissive wife skills.
That has nothing to do with Joey. He doesn't want me to be submissive.
No, I am totally not into that at all.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Hello. Was there some sort of submissive wife thing in the movie that I missed?
No, I just thought it was funny.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, what could someone download? Like, you know what? Like, is like the opposite of like what someone would want to download.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, let me download the submissive wife.
Right. I'm totally imagining that guy Tank like trying to upload the program into you, and he's like, the file must be corrupt. It's just not working. Well, we need somebody to cook around here. Yeah. Okay. So it's Action August, and we are going to be covering The Matrix. A little movie that sort of slipped by and nobody really seemed to see or notice or anything.
Really?
Yeah, and it was not referenced in like 1,000 other movies and video games and television ever. So I don't know.
You're being facetious.
No, I'm being sarcastic. There's a difference.
Okay. Well, you said that, and I was like, what? Really? At the beginning, it was like not thought about? Yeah. I was like, I thought it was super big.
Yeah. This movie was huge. I guess you were kind of young when it came out, but yeah, it was crazy. So for people who maybe don't know, I'm sure you do, The Matrix was a huge movie that came out in 1999. It was directed by the Wachowski brothers, who are now the Wachowski sisters.
Ooh.
Which is a whole interesting thing.
Yes.
A whole interesting thing on its own, which we'll get into in a little bit. But the movie was a huge success. It wasn't based on...
How many have they made? Like 4?
Yeah. The fourth one came out maybe a couple years ago.
A number.
Yeah. But the fourth one came out pretty recently. But this is such a huge movie because it wasn't based on any pre-existing IP. You know, like the Marvel movies, you can say that they're successful because they're using characters that have been around for decades, right?
Yeah.
This was a completely new property. The budget was $63 million.
Is that a lot for a first movie?
That's a pretty high budget, but like this was a big action sci-fi film. In '99, that was a big budget, not a huge budget, but a big budget, and it grossed $467 million.
Wow.
Yeah, which is huge. And this is a rated R movie. Rated R movies usually don't make as much because like kids can't go to it, right?
Yeah.
So this is huge. Like
So you can't bring your whole family to it. It's like not a family show. I mean,
Right.
granted, it wasn't like super inappropriate.
No, it wasn't. It was most likely rated R because of violence.
Yeah.
You know, because there is a lot of gunplay in this movie.
True.
But when you think about them, like, oh, they're shooting computer programs.
Yeah.
You know?
Becomes less of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So, Aaron, I said that we watched this, and you claim that you never have seen it.
I still don't think I saw this before we watched it in its entirety. I may have seen like little clips of it, but like I have no recollection of the little like squid things. I never recall him waking up from this. Like I don't recall any of this stuff. Like the only things that I know about are the little cat walking by.
The deja vu thing.
Yeah, because that's a meme. Like people like talk about that.
Yeah.
And then like the little Matrix like pose where he like goes backwards to dodge the bullets. I remember that.
Yeah,
But
that's
that is
very,
because it's very common.
that's like an early internet meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, but that's it. I don't like know anything. I didn't know anything else about it. And for like, I don't have the best memory when it comes to movies, but I feel like I would have remembered that there were like it was a computer generated thing. Like I didn't understand it at all. Like
Yeah, I mean the plot is kind of convoluted, but I think they do a pretty good job of laying it all out.
yeah, I think people may have like you say that we watched it with my brother. I think they were watching it and I was in the vicinity, but I was not watching it
Oh, maybe not.
because I don't remember any of it. So,
Okay. Well, we'll just say this is your first time seeing it
perfect.
all the way through and taking notes on it. I've seen this movie a number of times because I was in high school when it came out, and all my friends like lost their minds over it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know how they say like don't overhype things.
Yeah.
You know, like because when somebody actually tries it, they'll be like, well, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
You know, like don't oversell it. Like all my friends oversold it to me. So when I finally went to see it, I was like, I mean, it was good, but
It's not like
yeah. But now it's been so many years since it came out. Every time I watch it, I'm like, man, this movie is really, really good.
yeah. It was
And-
really fun to watch.
Yeah, and it came out in a time before like CG had completely taken over films.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of CG in this movie, but there's also a lot of really great practical effects too. Mm-hmm. You know, and the parts that age the best are the practical effects. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
some of the digital stuff is like just looks ridiculous.
Well,
But,
because digital always looks terrible, in my opinion.
all right, yeah, I mean that's a way a lot of people feel. I mean, I think there's room for it in movies, but
Yeah.
the
To
thing,
an extent.
yeah, the thing that bothers me today is that anytime that there's like a question of like how are we going to make this look the way we want it to on screen, they just go CGI.
I know. It's like especially when there's like creatures, it's like instead of doing CGI, make a puppet.
Yeah,
It's so cool. It's way better. It looks better. The actors have more to work with when they can actually see what it's going to look like.
yeah,
I think that's a way better way to go than to use CGI and to use those stupid like I get like sometimes you need to use a green screen to do things, but like if that's all you have, like I've seen videos of people when they're just like wearing like they're talking to a green ball and that's it.
yeah.
And it's
Those
like,
are so
that is-
funny.
What? Get a puppet. Just get a puppet.
Yeah, get anything. Yeah,
Anything, yeah.
A really good example, I think, a recent example is that last Mad Max movie, Furiosa.
Yeah.
It went too far into the realm of CG.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like that movie is really pretty forgettable compared to like Mad
Fury
Max
Road.
Fury Road.
Yeah.
Like Fury Road really sticks out in your mind. And there
it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah. They still use practical effects in that new one, but they just went too far, I thought.
Yeah.
You know?
It
But,
overshadowed the practicals.
Yeah, yeah. So, anything that you wanted to bring up about the movie?
Here was a big question that I had was about the pills, because I know that the pills are like this important part of the movie. I don't understand the pills. Our dog is trying to like get his toys in a box, and he's like freaking out.
Hold on. You talk about the pills. I'll go get one of his toys.
So with the pills, there's a blue pill and a red pill, okay? And if he takes one, he stays in the Matrix. But if he doesn't, what is that? I don't understand what it does, because they're all in a computer anyway.
Okay. So they said that I'm sure the blue pill probably doesn't do anything. It's like NyQuil or something, and he's going to fall asleep. But the red pill, they said, was some sort of way to track him to find out where his pod is in those towers on the pod.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
That's the way I understand it.
So
yeah.
okay, because then that computer went over to them and it ripped his cord out.
Right. Yeah, that's what freed him from the pods.
But how did he wake up from his little thing?
I don't know, some of that machinery that they have him hooked into, because they have him sitting in a chair and they have all these computers out. Some way it tracks where he is and then takes all his little, whatever you call those things out, little tubes he's hooked up to out or something. I don't know. These are like, there's a lot of things in this movie that you just kind of have to go, sure, I buy that.
Yeah.
Because it is like they are in a computer program.
Yeah.
But I think they do a pretty good job of trying to explain it. Like the part where they're like, well, you know, if he dies in the computer program, why does he die in real life? It's like, well, to the brain, it's real and the body can't survive without the brain. It's like, it's very surface level, but you go, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my other thing is like with the, like, how come if you know it's not real? Especially because they know it's not real. And to know, like, in your brain, like, yeah, I know this isn't real. Because, like, you know, like that little test where they have, like, two people's hands next to each other and you put a sheet between it and one of them's a fake hand and the other one's your real hand. And then, like, they'll, like, manipulate your hands in both hands so that you see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then they'll, like, hit it with a hammer and you feel the pain even though it's not really there.
Yeah.
So I get that. But if someone like were to grab the hand and be like, this is not a real hand, you know it's not a real hand, and then hit it with a hammer, I don't know if you would feel it. And I'm wondering if like you're in this world and you say, you know what, I know I'm not in this actual world, you wouldn't actually die.
Well, I mean, that's what the movie is about. The whole thing is like Neo has to free his mind and realize that he is a completely separate being from this. Which is why at the end of the movie, he looks and everything is just code to him.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, that's the whole thrust of the movie. Right? And that's the guy, the little kid with the spoon. And
So that's why he is the one.
yes.
It's because he can see the code
Yeah.
in the actual Matrix.
Yeah. He Morpheus at one point in the movie explains that there was a guy who existed who could manipulate the Matrix in whatever way he wanted. But he died or something like that.
Yeah.
So Morpheus has been looking for the person who can, and he believes that it's Neo. So yeah, this movie, you have to watch it a few times before you fully get what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you're somebody who's been interested in sci-fi for a long time, like you read sci-fi novels, this has been a story in the sci-fi world for years. They call it pod people. Right. So where like robots have put people in pods and they harvest them or whatever. So it's a very common thing. But like when this movie came out, nobody had really seen a mainstream movie that was about that. So they're like,
okay.
oh, this is something totally new. It's like, no, not really. I didn't know it. I didn't know that because I've never been a real big sci-fi guy. But also another really interesting thing about this movie is the Wachowskis, right?
Yeah.
So when they made this, they were both male, right? And I didn't know who the Wachowskis were. I didn't know if they were brothers, brother and sister, married. I had no idea. I'd always just heard like this was the Wachowskis. The Wachowskis made this and whatever.
Yeah.
And then when the fourth movie came out, I was listening to something and they're like Lana Wachowski. And I was like, okay, one of the Wachowskis is a woman.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they're husband and wife, maybe the other one. And then I forget what the other Wachowski's name is now. And I feel bad. But anyway, then I heard them say like they're trans. So this is the first time I ever heard of like two siblings both being trans.
Yeah.
But if you watch the movie, it's a really interesting, like you could look at it as an allegory for someone struggling with their identity, right? Because Neo, he knows that he's different.
Yeah.
Or he knows that something isn't right with the world. The movie is kind of external. Will you put Giuseppe down?
Yes.
You can't podcast and hold our dog at the same time.
He has glitter on his eyes.
So what did you think about that? Was there anything you noticed when you were watching the movie? Because I know I told you this before we watched it.
Yeah. I wasn't looking for it, but when you think about it, yeah, I mean, kind of like having to live in a world that's not true to yourself, and then like going into that new world can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And then you also get to see the world previously how it was. You kind of see both versions at the same time.
Yeah. I guess the one big difference is it's in the movie, it's external. Like the world is external, but if you're a trans person, you're struggling internally with your personal identity. Where, I mean, I guess that's the big difference. But every time I watch this movie now, I can't help but notice things and be like, oh, because when they wrote the script, they must have been, well, not struggling with it, but, their internal feelings are coming out when they're writing the script. And
I wonder if they both knew at the same, like if about each other at this time while they were writing it.
What do you mean?
If they knew that each other was thinking about, not thinking about, but like had these thoughts of like, oh, I'm not who I should be inside.
Oh, I don't know.
At the same time, if they were going through that same existential crisis internally, if they knew about it with each other.
Well, I would assume that this is something they've probably felt their whole life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm saying like while they're writing this, I'm wondering if they knew that the other person was also going through it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they wrote it together or anything.
Oh, okay.
But I know they didn't transition for like a good 15, 20 years after they wrote this movie. So this would have been maybe, it's not I don't think they wrote this film consciously to be that. I think their subconscious showed up in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, did you see any of the sequels?
Definitely not.
Yeah, the sequels were really disappointing. I saw Reloaded, which was the second one.
Is that the one where they make the gun, like the bullet, go around something?
I think you're thinking of a completely different movie.
Okay.
I only saw it one time, but yeah, it wasn't as good. And then Reloaded. No, Reloaded was the second one.
Herbie?
Reloaded. Yeah, Lindsay Lohan showed up and a Volkswagen Beetle. And then Matrix Revolutions was the third one.
I don't know.
Where they finally save Zion, the last human city or whatever. I turned it off halfway through. I was like, no, thank you. And it was a free rental from when I worked at Blockbuster. So
That must have been real bad.
yeah, not worth it. That like the one of the two biggest letdowns when I worked at Blockbuster was I rented that, and then the other one was the third prequel in the Star Wars movie when that finally came out.
Is that where the one where Anakin like gets like
gets his
burned?
yeah, he gets burned and his arms and legs chopped off. That was a huge letdown too. Yep. All right, so you want to get into the movie?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. So the movie starts off, and there's people.
No explanation
No.
to anything.
No, it just
goes
right.
in, and you're like, "Who the hell are these people?"
Yeah, our daughter was watching this with us, and I was like, "Look, just give it 10 minutes. I swear you'll be hooked.
Yeah.
If you just watch this opening scene." So it's got Cypher and Trinity talking on the phone, and you don't know who they are yet or what's going on, but
It's like a portable phone
yeah.
or like a cell phone.
And I think there's like code going down on the screen or whatever, but
Because she's on a computer, isn't she?
yeah. But they're talking about Neo, but we don't know who Neo is yet. And Cypher's like, "Do you think Morpheus is right about this guy?" And she's like, "I don't know. I think that's what's going on." Do you remember?
Yeah. No, not really, because all I wrote was on a call and don't want it to be hot. I think she was saying like I don't want someone to be listening in on the call.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess that there were people that were trying to listen in.
So I mean, they're very vague in this scene, but you're already like getting what this is. Like, you know, there's they're looking for someone. People are after them.
Yeah.
And then that's when the cops show up.
And there's like three cops or something like that go in.
I don't
And
know.
they're trying
There's
to
like a whole team of them or something.
Oh, maybe.
But there's some down on the street too. But then some guys in suits show up with sunglasses, and they're like, "We told you to call us." And the cop's like, "I think we can handle one little girl."
Yeah.
And they're like, he's like, "I don't think you can."
Well, he goes, how many did you send up? And he goes, 3. And he was like, these
okay.
3 guys can handle one little girl.
That's right.
And he goes, your guys are already dead. And then we go back to where she is, and then she kills them all.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, they're like going to handcuff her, and then of course she's super fast. It's really cool. It really catches you off guard if
Yeah.
it's the first time you see it, because you're like, "Oh, it is just one woman, and why is she wearing so much shiny leather?"
Yes. Patent leather. Whew.
Yeah, but they're going to handcuff her, and she just turns around and starts whooping their asses, and then she runs on the wall.
Yeah.
And you're like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah. How the hell is she doing this?
Yeah.
How is
So-
she defying gravity? She's not Elphaba.
Yeah. So then she knows the agents are there, so she runs. Wait, what did you say?
She's not Elphaba.
What?
People will get it.
I don't get it.
Good. It's a musical.
Oh, okay. So she sees the agents, and she's like, "I got to get the fuck out of here." So
And she's also like going in slow-mo too. It's very interesting.
yeah.
The whole-
she does like a sort of a jumping crane kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it pauses, and then the camera turns.
Yeah, it's a really cool effect.
Yes. Now, I remember when the movie came out, this was a huge deal because that was an effect that had never been done in a movie before. I think they used digital cameras this was an early movie to be shot with digital cameras, but they set up multiple cameras in an arc.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's why it pauses, is because
They all catch that
they all
moment.
spin. And I remember watching like the Super Bowl the year after that movie came out, and they're like, "We're going to do the same effect."
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they had to use multiple
I don't remember
cameras.
the Super Bowl specifically, but I remember that became a super big thing. And then the only reason I remember that and like know how that works is because I was watching Shark Week. And they were like, we're going to catch a shark in this like pause like shot with like the things going around them. And so they had this like huge setup so that they could catch a shark coming out of the water.
Yeah, and
That's the only reason I know how that works.
But I'm telling you, this movie was everywhere after it came out.
But if I wouldn't have seen that, this was the first one to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's I would have been like, what the fuck?
But what
How do they do that?
My little sarcastic comment at the beginning about how this movie came out and nobody noticed it and it wasn't referenced a million times. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
They're like, we're using the camera tricks, we're doing jokes, we're doing everything. People could not stop talking about this movie. The only movie that I remember being talked about as much was Pulp Fiction.
Okay, yeah.
When Pulp Fiction came out, people
when
could
did
not.
Pulp Fiction come out?
94.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
people
too young
could
to
not
know.
stop talking about that movie. Yeah, and it didn't win the Academy Award.
Oh.
That's bullshit.
Did Matrix?
I think it won Academy Awards for special effects, but I don't think it won Best Picture or anything.
And then at one point she is running down the stairs and the little glasses guys are trying to find her, and so she there's a payphone and it's ringing, and so she runs to it, and this Mack truck comes out,
Yeah,
and it tries to run her over.
Yeah, yeah. She runs and they show her jumping from a really far building. And then the cops are like, oh, no one can do that. How did that happen?
And then the guy in the
agent
glasses
does it.
Yeah.
One of the agents does it, and you're like, okay, these agents are in the same the same as her.
Yeah.
You think. And then she barely makes it out. She gets sucked into the phone.
I was like, is she running through the phone? I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah,
it's weird because you just see this phone. And it makes sense because this was a time when dial-up was happening.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And so okay, phones, dial-up, internet, computers. Makes sense.
Yeah, today it's a little weird, but at the time, a lot of people were still on AOL at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people were using dial-up, so the idea of being sucked through a phone is yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But now it's what?
Yeah, but whenever I first saw it, I was like, what? And I was like, oh, dial up.
Yeah.
But for those of you that are younger and don't know what dial up is, a long time ago.
Oh, let's not do this.
I'm just
I hate
kidding.
it when people do this
I'm
on
kidding.
podcasts. For our younger listeners, there used to be this thing called a phone, and it was tethered to a wall by a cord.
I'm joking.
I know. I'm not making fun. But people do that on podcasts, and it drives me crazy. Our 9-year-old daughter knows what phones used to look like.
Yeah, I know. But dial up was it was connected to the phone, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of clever.
Yeah, it is. It's totally clever.
I was like, oh, okay. But at first, because I was thinking now, I was like, what? I don't. But the payphone is a little weird because I don't think a payphone would be able to do dial up. I don't know how it works. I don't know how dial up works even really that much either.
Well, early hackers used to do this thing called phone freaking, where I don't know how it works.
Freak.
You could use the touchstone thing to make free long distance calls or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it was early internet hacking and stuff like that.
Oh,
But I swear, when this movie came out, I was in high school, and all this was making perfect sense to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're because I was imagining their bodies being turned into code and then going ear.
That would have been a fun add-on.
I think it would have looked a little too cheesy.
Yeah. Okay,
but real quick, you asked about, we talked about the Academy Awards. The film received nominations at the 72nd Academy Awards for Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, and Best Sound Editing, winning all 4 categories.
Wow.
So, yeah, it won for all the effects, and the effects are great. So, you can definitely see why.
So, anyways, she is... she jumps through the phone. But I didn't realize what she had done at first because she runs to the payphone and picks it up, and then the truck hits it and she's gone. And you're like, wait, is she dead or is she in the phone? And then later on, I was like, oh, she's in the phone. But then it cuts to Neo, and this is the first time we see him.
Yeah.
And is he like, he was like sleeping at a computer and like something comes across the screen, right?
Yeah, like I think
It says, "Hello, Neo.
Yeah.
Wake up. We've got something to tell you."
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, how do they know I was sleeping?"
Yeah. Like, how do they know my name?
Oh my God, Keanu.
My name's Keanu Reeves. Whoa.
Dude, I was asleep.
Anyways, but he wakes up and like there's a knock at the door. Oh, on the screen it says something about like follow the white rabbit.
Yeah, the computer tells him to follow the white rabbit.
And so he's like, what the fuck? And so he turns his computer off and he has a knock at the door. And
Some cyberpunk looking people are there.
yeah, and I was like, what are they trying to get? Like they get something from him. And I was like, he pulls out like a floppy disk and gives it to him.
It was like a mini disc. It was like one of those games that you used to put in your PSP or whatever.
But he was like, don't tell anyone that you got this from me. And I was like, what is he selling? Black market software or something?
Yeah, he's a hacker.
Oh,
and
okay.
He's probably selling them some sort of program or code that can like hack into a bank database or something.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I was kind of confused of like, what is he selling? I didn't understand.
Yeah, and then he says something that's kind of a through line through the first half of the movie, which is he says like, you ever wake up from a dream and you can't tell if you're still asleep or awake or whatever? Mm-hmm. And then the guy's like, yeah, mescaline.
What is mescaline?
It's a drug. I've never tried it, but it's kind of like a party drug. It just makes you feel good. And then they're like, hey, come out to the club with us. And he's like, no, I can't. But then the woman turns to the side and you see that she's got a tattoo of a white rabbit.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I love that. They're like, literally 60 seconds before that, they're like, follow the white rabbit. And then 60 seconds later, oh, there's a white rabbit.
Yeah.
Immediate payoff.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'll go. And he goes out to the club and they start playing
Dragula.
Dragula.
Slam in the back of my Dragula.
Terrible song, but it fit those people very well.
Yes,
They
fit the club.
looked like they would listen to Dragula.
Yeah, Rob Zombie specifically.
Ugh, gross.
Ugh, yeah.
If you listen to Rob Zombie, I'm not saying you're gross, but they looked gross. So like he's at this club and that's where, is it Trinity?
Trinity walks up and she introduces herself. He's like, you're the person who cracked the IRS? And she's like, yeah, that was me. And
this whole part I was kind of confused about. I was like, what's going on? I don't understand.
Oh, I don't know.
Because like I didn't understand the IRS part.
She hacked the IRS database. She's a hacker.
Uh-huh.
And then...
And that's why they grabbed her and brought her out of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I don't know. They never really understand. They never really explained anybody else's backstory. But I like that Keanu's like, oh, I always assumed that you were a man. And she says, most guys do. But I thought that was funny. Like, when she said that, I was like, yep, there's the trans stuff right there. It's like, hey, your gender roles are dumb.
Yeah.
Gender normativeness makes no sense. And then she says, like, I know why you stay awake at night. I know why you have a whatever. I don't know. But she essentially, like, makes a plea to him, like, yeah, we're like you, and we know, and we sympathize with you, or something like that.
Where we understand, like, what you think.
Yeah.
We think the same way.
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
And so it, like, goes to the next day, and he's at his job.
Yeah, and he's talking to his boss, and his boss is saying that he has a problem with authority.
Which, that part was kind of pointless.
Yeah, but I think this is supposed to show, like, what his Groundhog's Day life is like. He works in a office building, and there's people washing the windows behind him, which I thought was a really cool dynamic scene to have. Like, most people would just be like, oh, he's talking to his boss. But the Wachowskis are like, let's have some people washing the windows in the background. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like symbolic of like how how boring life is, or
Yeah.
I don't know. That's very much open to interpretation. So,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Oh, also, while he's at the club, Trinity tells him that she was like, you need to meet him. And I was like, who is him? But we find out later it's Morpheus.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's the point where she brings up Morpheus. But she doesn't tell him his name.
Yeah.
But his boss, so kept forward back to, he's at his job, and his boss is like, you have the possibility of losing your job. I don't remember what said the reason was, but he was like,
It's not important.
Yeah.
We just need, they're just hitting us in the face again with the fact that like Neo is disillusioned with life. He doesn't like his job. He's unhappy. Mm-hmm. You know, so this is basically the third time we find out, you know,
yeah,
because that's good screenwriting. You hit your audience over the head with it 3 times so that the dumbest person in the room knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right?
Me. I'm just kidding.
But then I love this. A FedEx guy delivers a package to him, and it's a cell phone.
Yes.
A huge Nokia cell phone.
It was enormous. And he answers the phone, and he goes that there's people looking for him, and it's the agents. And he was like, I don't understand why people are looking for me.
But it's Morpheus on the phone.
Yes, it's Morpheus. But we don't know, like, we haven't seen him yet. We just hear his voice.
Right.
And he tells him, like, how to get out. And he's like, how do you know how to get out of my building? Like, he thinks he's like watching him. Like, he doesn't understand how he's able to see all of this, and he's not there. He's doing all of this through the phone.
Yeah. And he's telling him, like, go in the cubicle across from you. It's empty. And then the agents go to his cubicle, and they don't see him in there. And then he's like, go into this empty office and then climb down this scaffolding outside the building.
Yeah, but he's too scared, and so he goes back in and he gets arrested.
Yeah. And then Trinity is on a motorcycle outside there, and she sees them putting him in the car. So she's like, oh, shit, and she takes off. Mm-hmm. And then they go to
And the agent sees her.
Oh, they do?
I think they see her in her mirror, and she flips it up and she drives away. So he knows that they're looking.
Yeah, the reason they went to get Neo is because they know he's involved with these hackers that they're trying to catch. Yeah.
But he doesn't know how important he is to them.
No. They just think this is probably the next person that they're trying to free or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they get him in the interrogation room, and they're saying, like, we know you're involved with Morpheus. This guy is one of the most dangerous people in the world. And Keanu Reeves is like, I know my rights.
Yeah, and that's whenever I was like, who is Morpheus? Because, like, I didn't know that Morpheus was the guy on the phone.
Oh, okay.
But
I can't remember if they've even mentioned his name yet.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, they mentioned Morpheus at the in the interrogation room.
Okay.
But
do you know who Morpheus is?
He's the black guy.
No, though, the actor Lawrence Fishburne.
I don't know what else he's been in.
He, you remember Pee-wee's Playhouse, Cowboy Curtis?
Yeah,
he was Cowboy Curtis.
Aww.
I just now thought of that for some reason. I was like, I have to tell Aaron. He was really young in that, so it's kind of hard to recognize him. But anyway, I like that Keanu Reeves is like, how about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call, dude?
Yeah.
I'm going to call Bill and he's going to come and get me.
Yeah, and then they make his mouth shut, and like he can't they fuse his mouth, and it's like he's like freaking out.
What do you call that? The way that one agent speaks, is it diction? He's like, how can you make a phone call if you have no mouth? Like, what do you call that? The way he speaks, is that diction?
I mean, he has proper diction.
Is that what? I don't know. I
His
don't know.
Diction. He has proper diction. So like, his diction is like proper. Like the way you speak. Like if you have improper diction, you're gonna like think of like the most proper way to speak. That it's proper diction, and then like,
all right, yeah.
So yeah, it would just be proper diction.
So you would describe it like if you were describing the way he talks, you'd be like, yeah, he uses proper diction.
He speaks proper.
Okay, yeah, but I like the way he speaks in this movie. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
very proper.
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
he's very high, like, big brained.
He's a high status character.
High status.
Yeah.
Very like well knowing, and like, yeah.
Yeah, but what I wanted, I was getting like I was wanting to make sure I was saying it right. But his diction,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was his choice to speak that way or they directed him to do it, but I love it.
Yeah, he
Like-
enunciates very well.
Yeah,
And that, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a character choice.
yeah, and it's great. I love it. I like.
I mean,
will
he's
just,
supposed to be a robot, kind of. Is
he's
he
a computer
robot?
program. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's a computer program, so he's going to speak very proper.
yeah. But I like it. Like I could just listen to this dude talk the whole movie. He has like sort of a monologue at the end that I really like too. So then they close his mouth. The skin grows over his mouth so he can't speak.
And then they bring out this weird, like, robot bug thing,
Yeah.
and they put it over his stomach, and it burrows in his belly button. Mm-hmm. And then he wakes up out of his bed, and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he wakes up because the phone rings.
Yeah.
And it's Trinity, like, you got to meet us. And so he goes to meet them, and he gets in the car with them.
And the bug is a tracker.
Yes. So they have some sort of contraption that they use to get the bug out. But the thing is, like, here
He doesn't realize, he thinks it was a dream.
Yes, he thought it was a dream.
Yeah, Neo thought it was a dream, and so he's in this car, and he's like, and they put this thing on his stomach. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then the bug comes out, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
That thing was real.
Yeah, and then they throw it out the window, and it breaks, and they keep going, and then that's where they take him to Morpheus.
Yeah, but this is the part to me that always threw me for a loop. And if there's somebody out there who can explain how this works, please write into the show because I would love to know. They're like, we have to get this physical robot out of him, even though he is in the Matrix. They're all in the Matrix at that point. So why do they have to physically remove?
They're all code. I don't understand.
Yeah, did they put that?
Maybe it's a code that's part of their code, and they had to like decode him.
Yeah, maybe that the actual code in the Matrix manifests itself as something physical.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it's just one of those things that you just have to be like, yep, okay, I buy it.
Valid, I guess.
Yeah. So then this is they go to this shitty old building to meet Morpheus, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, is this the part where Trinity says, like, tell him the truth because he'll know if you're lying or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if that was the right part.
I can't either, honestly.
But yeah,
I think so.
This is the famous scene where he meets Morpheus and Morpheus says, like, you know that there's something wrong. You felt it your entire life.
And they said that the Matrix is all around us.
Yeah, the Matrix is all around us. And this is another part where you could kind of tie it to like someone struggling with their gender identity. It's like you've always felt like something wasn't right with you, you know?
Yeah.
So then he offers him like, oh, you can take the blue pill and you can stay here.
You can stay a man.
Yeah, the story ends. Or you can take the red pill and you can find out more about Wonderland.
Here's something I want to say. The way he states these like blue pill, red pill things is very confusing because they both sound like the same thing.
Yeah.
Can you go to that quote
Sure.
about the red pill, blue pill? Okay. So it says the blue pill, the story ends. The Matrix story ends? But no, because the blue pill is you keep going in the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It says you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. Okay, that makes sense for the blue pill. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland.
Wonderland is like a dreamland. So,
But the red pill is where you wake up.
yeah,
So why would you stay in Wonderland?
because they went with the White Rabbit thing, which is from Alice in Wonderland.
So this is what I think it should have been. You take the blue pill, you stay in Wonderland. You wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill and the story ends. And you show, and I'll
don't
show
think they
you
should
how
say the story
deep
ends.
the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
The fake story, all the fake stuff ends. And I show you where the rabbit hole goes.
Oh, all right.
You know what I mean? Like that, it didn't make sense to me.
Well, when you produce this with your middle school class, you can.
That's illegal.
I'm sure there's a play version of this.
No.
You can just make your own Pod People movie. I mean, play.
Pod play.
Pod play. Yeah.
Anyways,
And then.
I just thought that was an interesting way to say it. Like it felt flipped.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So then he takes the red pill, right? Because you got to move this movie ahead, right?
Yep.
And they're like, okay, great. Go sit in this chair. And he's like, oh, this pill, it's going to make us where we can track you. And it shuts down your input-output signal or something like
Yeah.
that. All this weird jargony stuff. And then I like Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants. He's the bald guy who's like the turncoat later in. He's the one who translates it. You know, he goes,
Okay.
so in other words, say goodbye to Kansas or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like Kansas is going bye-bye, right?
Yeah.
So we go, oh, okay.
So we now discover that his body has been in a pod this whole time, and it's been connected through wires and cables and things like that to keep him alive and to feed him, I guess, and to let him continue. And that his world hasn't really been real. It's just been a fake, imaginative thing that they've put into his brain.
Yeah, that he's been in a pod full of goo hooked up to all these things. He's been force-fed stuff.
Yeah. And the world that he's been living in is actually from the past.
Yes.
So it's from the 90s, and they're in like the far future. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and so one of those spider things shows up. Probably
Right.
that.
Hey, this happened right before Y2K. I thought that was funny.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
I wonder if that was another thing they were like, ooh, Y2K, this is going to happen.
yeah, this was a huge this is probably one of the things that was like making them think about this is like leading up to this to the year 2000. There was a lot of technophobia going on.
Yeah. I remember they were like, oh, the computers are going to like die and like it's going to be the end of the world. I remember people were freaking out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the clocks aren't going to continue. Like the calendars.
Some people were freaking out.
Yeah.
I think most people were okay.
I know, but
this was a thing. Like this is what the Terminator movies were about.
Yeah.
Right. That was the thing that they were trying to stop was the
Y2K?
machines taking. No, they were trying to stop machines from taking over the planet.
Oh.
And Terminator 2 came out in 1991. So this was a big thing throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
Like people were starting to. I mean, people are still afraid of technology. They talk about AI all the time now.
Yeah.
But so this has been a conversation for a long time. And then a spider thing shows up to unhook him from all of his little cables and tubes and stuff. And you assume like, oh, the hackers must have taken over this thing because otherwise it would like alert them that like some guy woke up.
Yeah.
And then he gets slid down that tube. It's like... It's so funny. It's like a water slide. Mm-hmm. And then he falls on like a sewer thing and a little like claw comes down to get him. And I remember when we were watching, I went, the claw.
Yeah.
Like
the claw.
The claw decides or whatever it is.
And then they bring him back up to the surface level or into their ship. And he is weak and he doesn't know how to use his muscles because he's just been in a pod the whole time. He doesn't know how to eat properly. and all of these other things. So they have to kind of like rehabilitate him.
Yeah, and they're using acupuncture.
Yeah, and some other things. And
yeah, and he says, my eyes hurt. And they're like, you've never used them before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Keanu Reeves lost a bunch of weight for this, and he shaved all the hair off his body. And you can tell, like, it doesn't look like, he's wearing a bald cap or anything.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It looks good. And so then he wakes up in his
Here's a question
Yeah.
for movie things. If you do that, do you film the parts where you have hair first, and then you do the shaved parts in the second half? Or do you just kind of grow your hair? I don't know how that works. For women, I know that it would have to be at the end, because once you shave it, you're done.
Yeah.
You can't grow your hair that fast.
Well, they probably, like, all the stuff in the Matrix where they have hair, where he has hair, they probably shot that all together. And then the parts where he doesn't have hair, they probably were like, okay, we'll shoot these parts. Because everybody else hair stays the same, because Morpheus and Cypher are bald. The two brothers, they never exist in the Matrix because they were born in the normal world. And then Trinity and the other woman have short hair in the Matrix and outside the Matrix. So...
well, they've probably just been growing their hair out or something.
Well, yeah, but I think that's probably why they went with short hair for the women. It wasn't like so much a choice as it'll make shooting easier.
Yeah.
If their hair is the same outside and inside the Matrix. Like, their hair is a little bit more done up in the Matrix than outside, but it's the same length. But anyway, he wakes up in his bed and he pulls out his IV. And then Morpheus comes in, and he apologizes to him because he's like, you're too old for us to wake up. But I have a reason for doing what I did. And then
So then you find out. So that makes you think, oh, okay, so they pull out kids. How do they know if a kid's going to be...
I don't think it's that they pull out kids. I think it's that, like... they're doing people in their 20s. Like, Keanu Reeves looks like he's well into his 30s in this movie,
Okay.
So, but
even like when they go to the Oracle, like they go to that place and they're little kids.
Right. Maybe they do. That's a good point. I forgot about that. But anyway, I think it's just another way for...
Maybe they just can see, like, oh, this kid, like, notices things that other people don't.
But also, like, Trinity said she hacked the IRS. I'm sure she was an adult when all that happened. So I'm sure maybe he was just past the point. Maybe nobody over 30 or something like that. But anyway, this is just another way for them to illustrate, like, Morpheus really, really believes in something.
Okay.
Like, he did something that you're not supposed to do because he really, really believes in Neo.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just another way for them to illustrate that.
But he tells him that about the first guy. There was this guy in the beginning of the Matrix that he was able to manipulate things, and he died. And they said that the Oracle told him that he would, that the reincarnation would happen in his lifetime, and he would find him. And he says that he thinks that Neo is it. And then he's well, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you remembered all that because I forgot.
Oh.
but he does say all that about the Oracle, and because everybody in this movie has some sort of prophecy that they receive from the Oracle.
Yeah.
And we'll get Neo's later, and we'll find out what Trinity's is because it all plays a role. So that's when they go out and they meet the rest of the crew. Trinity, Cypher, Mouse. I can't remember the blonde woman's name. Do you?
No.
No. And then I like that there's Tank and his brother, who's like a big dude, big muscular dude. I feel like there's still... Oh, there's APOC too. But,
I don't know anyone's names.
Yeah.
Except Morpheus and Neo.
But anyway, they plug him in so he can explain what the Matrix is. And they're in a white room. And he's like, this is what they call your residual self-image. And so Neo has hair again, and he's wearing normal clothes again. And then he explains to him that the apocalypse happened, and that AI caused a race of machines that took over. And so humans are like, oh, their power source is the sun from solar power. So let's darken the skies, which they don't explain how they darken the skies. But anyway, the robots, they got smart, and they're like, oh, well, if you took away our solar source, we'll just use you.
You as the source.
So, human race, you just played yourself, as DJ Khaled might say.
DJ Khaled.
And so then they feed the dead to the living, which makes you think, like, wouldn't they get mad cow disease or mad human disease if they're just eating their own tissue, brain tissue or whatever?
I don't know.
Anyway, so the Matrix, you wonder, like, okay, why do they need the Matrix if they're just using them for energy? It's like the humans need mental stimulation to keep the bodies happy, right?
Yeah.
So they're just sacks. And so they have this Matrix going on to...
stimulate their brains.
Yeah, stimulate their brains so that they'll stay alive long enough. And then he wakes up and he's like, no, I don't believe it. Bill, come and help me. And then Cypher's like, oh, he's going to pop. And he throws up. Oh, and then
he throws up like white stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that?
Well, he probably didn't have anything in his stomach. He's just been in a pod, you know.
So
he's probably just been eating fluids that they pump into his stomach.
Gross.
And then this is when Morpheus apologizes. So I said that a little too early. Oh, and this also when he explains Neo's second coming.
Yeah.
So we got that a little bit out of order, but who cares? And then Tank comes in after he's been asleep for a while, and he's like, Tank is really excited. He's like, I was born in the last human city. That's why I don't have any plugs in me or anything like that. And he's like, if Morpheus is right about you, this is a really exciting time. So again, they're hitting the viewer over the head. Hey, Neo's a special guy. So then they're like, okay, let's start uploading you with programs.
Yeah. So they put him in the program again, and then they start downloading different software into him. So like he's able to do kung fu and other things. And there's like a kind of like a montage. No, it's not a montage, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of it's like a training montage, except for it's kind of silly because they're just uploading programs into it.
Yeah.
But it's well done. Tank, do you know who Tank is?
He's the skinny guy he's not skinny, but like he was the guy that was downloading.
I don't mean the character in the movie. He is Lenny Kravitz's son.
He's a country singer?
No, you don't know Lenny Kravitz?
I'd have to look at them.
Lenny Kravitz, what is that song? American Woman.
Oh, okay.
Stay away from me. And then he makes a joke from an old TV commercial. It goes, hey, Mikey, I think he likes it.
Oh, is that the cereal thing that you talked about the other day?
Yeah. Do you want to watch that?
It's the commercial? Sure.
I should have queued that up. But anyway, and then somebody shows, I think it's Morpheus, shows up and he says, like, what? This guy's a machine. He's been going for 10 straight hours. And then he's like, okay, let's see. And he sends him, or Neo wakes up and he's like, I know Kung Fu. And he's like, let's see. So they go, Morpheus and them both go into a dojo program to fight each other.
And Morpheus is beating Neo. Like, Neo's not able to get a hit on him.
Yeah.
Because he's not fast enough. And he keeps telling him, like, you need to let go. Like, this isn't real.
Yeah. This whole scene is to illustrate, like, sort of what the rest of the movie is about how Neo needs to free his mind and realize that the Matrix is just a software that can be manipulated. So they have this whole fight scene, and it's really great. It looks cool. Like they knock each other across the room and break pillars and stuff. And he's like, do you think you're using your muscles and all this stuff? And then like Neo's like, you're too fast. And he's leaning on the ground, breathing really hard. And he's like, do you think that's air you're breathing?
Yeah.
And Neo looks at him like, what?
I know. In my brain, I was like, whoa.
That was
because it's
great
not.
Line. Yeah, that was such a great line. That's always stuck out in my head. But there's a whole bunch of like dialogue on this about like, stop trying to hit me and all this. And then all the gang comes out, like the whole crew comes out to watch them fight. And they're saying stuff like, oh, Neo's really fast and all that kind of stuff. And then you as the viewer think like, oh, maybe he's going to find out he's the one right now.
Yeah.
But then they say like, okay, load up the jumping software. So he's like, you're going to have to free your mind in order to make the jump across these buildings. And Morpheus shows him like he jumps across the buildings. And then everybody's like taking wagers as whether Neo's going to be able to do it. And that guy Cypher's like, no one ever gets it the first time. So Neo
I think Cypher wanted him to get it though. Because I think if he would have gotten it, he would have been like, he is the one. And I don't think he would have turned on them.
Oh, okay.
That's just a thought.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. But anyway.
I know it's fine.
Like, but Cypher, you notice immediately he's sort of the negative one who rolls his eyes at everything.
Yeah.
So they're kind of setting up what he is. And are you familiar with that actor?
No.
Joey Pants. Okay, he's been in a million things.
Joey Pants.
Yeah, that's what people call him, but his real name is Joe Pantoliano.
Oh.
But everybody calls him Joey Pants for short. And he's been in like, I don't know, 300 movies.
He looks familiar, but I just don't know what.
He's been in a million things. And usually they'll put a wig on him. But he always plays like a sleazy guy, an asshole boss, like somebody who's going to turn on everybody, like constantly. And then he doesn't make the jump, and then it hurts him. And he's like, why did that hurt? And he's like, well, if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life because your brain thinks it's real. And then later he's sleeping and Trinity takes him some food or something. And then Cypher runs into her outside the thing and they talk. And he's like, do you really think that he's the one? Is this why you thought maybe that he would have believed if he had made the jump? Because he seems skeptical.
No, the reason why was because while they were watching him do the jump, at the end of it, he looked at it and he goes, no one ever makes the first jump.
Oh, okay.
And he had this like face of like disappointment, like he was kind of rooting for him and hoping he would. That was the only reason.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, at this point in the movie, that character still could like have a little bit of one foot still in the door of like, oh, we can save humanity. Yeah. And then that might have been his point where he's like, no, it's over. I'm going to make a deal with the agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Because when he talks to Trinity here, he is not, he's not on board.
Yeah. He's like, I don't think this guy is it.
Yeah.
Like, because I think people expect the person to just be able to do it in the beginning, and yeah,
because he's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one, yeah.
So he should be able to. But also here, when they're talking, we the viewer don't know. Like if you're watching this movie for the first time, you don't know. But Trinity has already been to the Oracle and been told that her prophecy that she's going to fall in love with the chosen one. So she is probably starting to have feelings for him, and she's starting to go like, well, he is. So their conversation between these two people are like one person who is like getting on board with him being the one, and the other one is getting off board.
Yeah.
Like that's their motivation in that scene.
Well, so they go to the Oracle next, right? That's the next thing?
Oh, no.
Oh,
that's not for a little while.
Because I'll have something to say about the Oracle thing.
Okay.
With Trinity. But we'll continue on.
I'm going scene by scene, so just stop me when we get there. So then this is the part where they're going over the Matrix some more, and they're just walking around, and the woman in the red dress shows up.
Oh.
And then it's a test, and he's like, see, like you got distracted, and now an agent's going to kill you. Mm-hmm. You always have to be aware of what's going on around you when you're in the Matrix.
Yeah.
And he says everyone who's ever fought an agent dies. No one's ever successfully beat an agent, right? So if you see one, just run. And then that's when Sentinels show up to the ship. You remember that part?
Oh, yeah. They call them like the squids.
Yeah. And they shut down so they can't be seen.
It's just a kind of spooky little thing. It's not that important.
Yeah, it's not really.
It'll come back later.
Yeah, they're doing this now so that they can set up the end when they're being attacked by those things. Mm-hmm. But then Neo meets Cypher, and he gives him some hooch.
Yeah.
And he said, and this is where we get what Cypher really thinks. He's like, why, oh, why didn't I take the blue pill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's starting to, you see like, oh, he just is upset that he is living in this world. He doesn't want to eat this. They're eating this food, and he's like, I don't want to eat this food. I don't want to do all of this. And this is where he goes and meets them, right?
No, then he tells them, like, you do what we do if you see an agent. You run like hell. He says, don't try to fight him. And this it's doing two things. It's saying, like, this is what you do when you see an agent, right? So telling us again, like, the agents are really powerful. Don't try to fight them. And also that he doesn't believe that Neo's the one. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're just like the rest of us. So if you
you're
see
not
going
to beat him. So just run.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is where Cypher meets up with the agent.
Yeah.
And they have a steak dinner.
And the whole time he's like, I know this isn't real, but I want it to feel real.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not real.
Yeah.
So I can't enjoy it like I would have.
Yeah. And he says, like, when I go back in, I want to be somebody famous, like an actor.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, give us the codes. And he's like, I don't know the codes to the mainframes of Zion. Mm-hmm. Only Morpheus knows those. So they drop a little more exposition on us that the reason the agents want Morpheus and that they don't just kill him is because they want those codes.
Yeah.
So then this is the part where they're all eating dinner together. And it's some mush.
Yeah, this is when he's like, this is disgusting. I don't want to eat this food anymore.
What did you think of the character of Mouse?
Which one's Mouse?
He's the one who's like, you want to meet the woman in the red dress?
Oh.
And everything tastes like chicken.
Yeah. He's fine. I mean, I don't.
Oh, he's fine.
I didn't make any note of him.
Oh, okay. Well, I just like his character because he's a nice juxtaposition to the rest of the crew. Like, everybody's very serious.
Yeah.
And, like, he's kind of like
Ooh, I made the red dress girl. I get it.
Yeah. And he has that famous line that's, to deny our impulses is to not deny the very thing that makes us human. So he's kind of like, what's the term for that? Like, he's more of a whimsical character.
Yeah.
Which is much needed in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Because everybody is always talking so metered and seriously. It's like, oh my God.
The other thing is later on when they are at that one building and they're trying to get everyone out, and they like flip, they like do, like they change the Matrix. Like you see him like up in the room, like he's like chilling, and you kind of see his character. And yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
He just seems like a different. I mean, I think
he's also younger than everybody
I think
else.
all the characters have like a little bit of different personalities. Like Tank, I liked a lot.
Yeah, I like all the characters. And they're all differentiated.
I will say, like the blonde girl, like there's nothing really to them. Like I didn't get anything from them.
Her and APOC don't really get a whole lot of screen time.
Yeah, so it's like,
yeah, when they die, it's just like, all
okay,
right.
whatever.
But when Mouse dies, you're like, oh man.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's cute.
Yeah, but he's a much needed like kind of
comic relief.
A little bit of levity there goes a long way. And then this is finally when they go to see the Oracle, and they're in the car, and Neo asks Trinity what the Oracle told her, but they show up to the building, so she doesn't tell him.
I think they also say like what the Oracle says to you is for you, not for me.
Yeah,
for us.
After he visits the Oracle, that's what Morpheus tells him, but he didn't know that, so that he just asked Trinity ignorantly, like, what did she tell you? I think he was just trying to figure out what he's in for.
Yeah.
And then also before they leave, you see Cypher drop a cell phone into the garbage can. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, okay, so that's how the agents are going to figure out where they entered into the Matrix.
Yeah. But even if they arrived there, I don't think they would have, like, even if they didn't arrive there, I don't think Trinity would have told Neo what the Oracle said about her.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what I was
maybe
just
not.
trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know, but they definitely don't want to reveal it yet. Mm-hmm. But they're just trying to like drop seeds of like there's something that Trinity knows.
Well, yeah, and you can also tell that she was kind of upset, like she's not the one. I think she went in thinking she was the one, and then she was told that she wasn't.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think there were some lines along the line of that. Like she was saying, I went in thinking I was the one, and then I was told I wasn't.
That could be something, because like they have that whole thing when she meets him in the club about like, oh, I thought you were a man, and she says, yeah, most men do. So maybe that's like part of it is like she doesn't want to just be the one who falls in love with somebody, you know. Maybe
she wants to be the one.
Or just something more important than just the romantic partner of somebody, right? Yeah. So that lines up with what you're saying.
Anyways, so they go inside, and then you see all these little kids, and like a kid is like bending a spoon, and other kids are just kind of morphing, doing other things, whatever. You don't really pay attention to them, but Neo...
Yeah, fuck those kids.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really focus on...
No, fuck those kids.
Okay, fuck those kids. But Neo focuses on the kid that's bending the spoon, and he goes, well, the spoon's not really there, so you can do whatever you want with it. And
yeah, he says, you got to remember the truth. And he says, what's the truth? He's like, there is no spoon.
Yeah. So Neo tries to work on like bending the spoon. I think he actually does bend it a little bit.
Yeah, he does. And
then they come out, and it straightens back up.
Yeah, the lady says the Oracle will see you now. And so, but that's another them dropping the hand. I was like, oh, Neo is starting to figure this whole thing out, right? And then he goes in there, and she's baking cookies. And it's an older woman. It's really cool because this totally subverts your expectation of like what a prophet is. Mm-hmm. So did you think about that at all?
Oh, yeah, that was something that was, I think, said in it. She was like, you expected someone that was all higher up, and I'm a little.
But what did you think of when
black woman
when it was revealed to you? Did you think it was funny?
No.
Or did you not even think about it?
I didn't think about it.
Okay. Oh, geez, Aaron.
Well, I mean,
I don't think about it. I don't care.
Well, I was like, okay, it didn't mean anything significant to me, I guess. Like, I don't know what it was trying to say.
It wasn't trying to say anything. It was just supposed to be an interesting reveal. That it was like, because people have an idea in their head of what a prophet is supposed to look like or something, and then it's just an old woman baking cookies, and it's funny. It's probably
she wasn't even that old.
There's not a lot of comedy in this movie. Yeah, she's like middle aged, but there's not a lot of comedy in this movie. So like her part, like there's some funny parts in it, because like she says, "Don't worry about the vase," and then he goes, "What vase?" And then he
turns and hits it.
Yeah, turns and hits it,
and knocks it off.
Yeah, and then. They have a conversation, and she says, like, Morpheus really believes that you're the one. And she's like, well, what do you think? And he says, he essentially says, I don't think I am.
Yeah. And she says you're not the one at the moment. Like she says it. I don't know how exactly she says it, but it's to the point of like, in this moment right now, you are not the one.
It's all very vague and like open to interpretation. She never definitively says you're not or you are.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also like in this moment right here, you're not it. But it's also like in the future you could be. Because that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, he will be later on.
Yeah. But she also is just sort of telling him what he wants to hear or what he needed to hear or whatever.
But she tells him also that the most important thing is that at one point, Morpheus will try to risk his life for him.
Yes, that's right.
And it's either Morpheus's life or Neo's life.
Yeah. She tells him what he needs to hear, but also at the same time says, she definitively says, Morpheus 100% believes you're the guy. Mm-hmm. And he's going to make a sacrifice because of that, right? And then she gives him a cookie, and he leaves. And when he walks out to see Morpheus, he's still got the cookie in his hand. Mm-hmm. And then Morpheus is like, well, what she said to you is for you and you alone. So I'm not going to ask you. And then they head back to the house, the safe house. And they're walking in, and he sees the cat. And then he turns around, and he sees the cat again. And he goes, oh, deja vu. Deja vu.
Before this... they say that someone like that he walks out. I think it was Reagan, or someone says, "I hope the Oracle gives you good news." But he had already talked to the Oracle, so I don't know if that was another part of the glitch in the Matrix or what. But he had came out from talking to the Oracle, and someone said, "I hope the Oracle gives you good news," like in future tense.
Yeah, I think it was APOC. Yeah, he does say something like, yeah, I hope you got good news from the Oracle.
Not God, gives.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that was an editing mistake or something.
Maybe.
But anyway, he says the deja vu thing happens, and then they're like, wait, what? Everybody's like, what did you see? And he's like, deja vu, this is so cool, man. I love the way they tied it to everyone's human experience. That's why everybody remembers this. Like, we've all felt deja vu, and they're like, yep, that's when they changed something in the Matrix. And it's like, bah, bah, your mind blows. And you start thinking like, remember I had that deja vu the other day?
Yeah. There's a change.
So they realize they've been hunted down by the agents, and Mouse tries to escape, but there's a brick wall where the window once was. So he pulls out some guns and tries to shoot his way out, I guess. And the rest of the gang decides to hide in the wall.
Yeah.
Right? And then Cypher gives away their position by coughing.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's a SWAT team in there, and the agents, they can take over anybody in the Matrix. So he just takes over a SWAT person's body. And then Morpheus, this is when Morpheus sacrifices himself. So this is another one of those immediate payoffs. Like, just 3 minutes ago, we were told that Morpheus is going to sacrifice himself. So he stays and fights an agent so that they can get away. Because we've been told the one thing you're never supposed to do is fight an agent. So here he is fighting an agent.
But they're not going to kill him because they need him.
Right. Yeah, they need him for the codes, which is pretty smart writing. Like, that whole codes thing was definitely in there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do we keep the agents from killing him? It's like, well, say he has some knowledge that they need.
They have to have.
Yeah. So you don't ever question it. So the others escape through the sewers, and then Cypher splits up from everybody and finds a phone and gets back before everybody else.
Well, he tells everyone, like, this is where we're going to... He calls Tank and says, this is the phone we're going to go to. And then... so everyone's on their way to go to that phone. And Cypher gets there first, and he calls him in, and Cypher gets back. And then he...
Well, he also lies, right? He says, like, everybody got split up or everybody got killed or something.
But no one did get split up. They're right behind him.
Okay.
but he got there first, and then he goes back and he tries to kill Tank and his brother.
Well, yeah, first he unplugs APOC and the blonde woman, so they die in the Matrix, and then he shoots Tank and his brother.
And he was going to kill Morpheus next. Or no. Trinity.
No, he's not ever going to kill Morpheus because...
He was going to do Trinity.
Yeah, he was going to do Trinity, and he, like, says, like, I thought I was in love with you, and it's all creepy.
Yeah, super creepy.
Yeah, and then...
Tank, it shoots him.
Yeah, and it's a cool little reveal because he goes... You hear him over the phone go, I don't believe it. And you think he's talking about, like, Neo or something. And then it's...
And he's on the phone with Neo.
Yeah. And he turns around, and Tank has the gun. And he says, believe it, and shoots him.
Yeah. And then he calls in Trinity and Neo, right?
Yeah, they both go get zapped back on the ship. And then it goes to the agent the building where the agents hang out, and they're trying to break into Morpheus's mind so that they can get the codes to the mainframe. And then Neo, they go back to the ship, and they're like, okay, we're going to have to unplug Morpheus because they're going to get the codes. It's the only way to protect the Zion. And so they're about to do it, and then Neo says, no.
I can go. We can go in and we can save him.
Yeah, and this is.
And I don't think he thinks he can save them by, saving Morpheus. I think and all of them coming back. I think he thinks he's going to go in there and sacrifice himself.
Yeah. See, it's not really that he thinks he's the one. He's like, look, Morpheus helped me, and he sacrificed me because he thought I was the one.
He sacrificed himself because he thought it was...
Yeah, so now I have to return the favor and go sacrifice myself.
To save him.
So that he can find the actual one.
Yeah.
Right? So he still doesn't believe it yet. But this, like, when he says, like, we're going in to get him, like, this is clearly the third act.
Yeah.
Right? That's when the third act begins. When Neo is like, I'm not going to sit back and be... viewing something happen in front of me. I'm going to take action. So this is the beginning of the third act. And I talk on this podcast a lot. Like the last movie we did.
Yeah, you do talk a lot.
The last movie we did was Predator. And I said, I don't think the third act delivers. I think the second act is the best part of the movie. And then I said the same thing about Point Break, which we did recently too. It's like the third act doesn't really deliver. This movie, the third act, is the best part of this movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely 100% delivers on every single level.
It's like Fury Road. Like Fury Road, the third act is like...
Yes.
I mean, the whole movie delivers.
Yeah, the whole movie delivers.
But also, that third act is fantastic.
Yeah, when they turn around and they're like, we're going to go fight.
Yes,
yeah, it's so good.
Anyways, so... They go back into the Matrix, Trinity and Neo, and...
Well, their first, like, I like that Tank goes, Neo, this is Loco. Like, what, Loco? But he's like, no one's ever tried anything like this. Right? He says, no one's ever tried anything like this. And he's like, yeah, that's why it'll work.
Yeah.
Because it's a big surprise. Like, he's not saying, like, I'm the one.
He's saying, like, they're not going to expect this.
Right, exactly. And then Trinity is like, well, I'm going to go with you. And he's like...
Yeah, because Neo is going to go by himself.
Yeah. And this would be the perfect time for her to be like, hey, I fell in love with you and you're the one. But it's not. So they don't say it.
Well, it happens a little bit later.
I know it happens later. I'm just saying, like, it would have been a good time in real life. But since this is a movie...
Well, I don't agree with you. There's another part where... She does do it, and I think
No, I'm saying it's more cinematic the way they did it. I'm just saying, like, whatever, forget it.
Okay.
But anyway, she's like, I outrank you on this ship, so I'm telling you that I'm going in with you, right? And then they go in the loading room, that white room, and they grab a bunch of guns and shit.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to where the agents are, and this is where the agent has his big speech. Mm-hmm. Where he talks about, he's like, I hate this place, this zoo, this prison. What now? What did you say?
I thought you were gonna do like a full on.
I can't find it. I don't know. There's too much. It's a really long thing. It's split up too. It's not like a full monologue because it does cut between things. But he basically says like humans are a disease. They don't have an equilibrium. They just destroy every habitat they go into or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's getting all weird with Morpheus and like getting really close in his face and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is where the foyer shootout happens, right?
Yeah. So Neo like walks in through the little
metal detector,
and they're like, "Oh, can you
open your coat or something?
Or take off your watch?" And he goes, tell him to take off something or put something in the metal thing, and he opens his coat and takes out his guns and starts shooting.
Yeah,
it was really fun. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the best scenes of the movie. I like that they see all the guns and like, oh shit, and then he hits him in the chest with his palm, and like the guy flies back, and then there's this whole slow motion shootout that I can't explain to you. You just have to go and watch it on YouTube. Yeah, but it's great. And one of the things I think is so funny about these types of scenes in movies is like they'll take out some guns and just go pow, 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 and just completely unload, and then they'll just throw the whole gun away and grab new guns.
Well, I mean, how long would it take to reload?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just funny to me. It's just like, hey, you could use those guns. They're reloadable.
Yeah.
You know, you carried them in there. Why not carry them out? But they have so many. They have like multiple duffel bags of guns. But
also, it's the Matrix. So, I mean, like, theoretically, you could have coded that they just replenish. You know?
Neo doesn't replenish his guns. Like that internet video.
Yeah, with the sodas.
And then they're up on the rooftop, and it seems they're fighting hand to hand on the rooftop. Yeah. So it seems like maybe you should have hung on to those guns. But they're kicking ass and taking names, and then an agent goes up there. He takes over one of the bodies of the SWAT team.
Yeah, something that was really cool that happens throughout this movie is the agents are able to take someone's code and morph into them, but like take on their own form. So like if like Joey was over to my right, I can, or anywhere in the world, if I know where they're at, I can I can teleport my body kind of by morphing myself into him.
Yeah, it's just like their code becomes their code or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a really smart because it makes it scary and ominous anytime they're in the Matrix because an agent can be anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So
which they say that earlier too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just, explaining.
Anyone can be an agent because anyone sees you, an agent knows you're there.
Yeah. And it makes it scary, as a viewer that whenever someone's in the Matrix, they are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? So the agent shows up there and they shoot at the agent and the agent dodges the bullets. And then the agent shoots at Neo and he does the famous, lean backwards thing that was parodied in every single thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. And also Trinity calls Tank and says like, I need to download how to drive a helicopter.
Yeah. But first the agent, he dodges the bullet, but the agent still shoots him. Yeah, grazes him. And then when the agent's about to kill him, like Trinity shows up. She goes, dodge this, and shoots him in the head. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, but then that agent morphs back into its previous self. So you're like, they didn't quite kill the agent.
He's just he didn't, the body that he was taking over, that code that he was taking over doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. And it also kind of says like, okay, agents are unkillable.
Yeah.
Because even if you do manage to shoot one in the head, it's just code. It'll just switch.
Yeah.
Right. And then she's like, how did you move that fast? And he's like, well, it wasn't fast enough. So he's starting to like understand,
Yeah.
the whole like spoon thing where you can just manipulate whatever you want. So then, like you said, she gets the pilot program uploaded to her brain. And then they go and they find Morpheus and the agent in that one room, and they fly the helicopter down there.
Yeah. And this was a weird moment because the agent was like yelling in Morpheus's face. Morpheus is like unconscious.
Yeah,
but
because the drugs are starting to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the agent is like being very weird and like kind of erratic.
Yeah.
And the other agents come in and they're like, he's not supposed to be doing this. So like maybe his like code is corrupt or something.
No, I don't think it's corrupt. I think that he is it's sort of like how they say that AI is going to take on a mind of its own and become like, what do they call it?
Sentient?
Singularity? Yeah, sentient. So they're kind of illustrating that this agent is becoming sentient. He's becoming because he says this whole thing about the Matrix being a zoo and animals. So you're thinking it's kind of like the other agents don't seem to have a conscience.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they're supposed to do. But and if you watch the second one, that's totally what they're going for in that.
Oh, okay.
That he's gained consciousness and he is like the villain of Neo and stuff.
Anyways, so they're in the helicopter and Neo is like trying to shoot at the agents.
And he's shooting a minigun, which is the same gun that Jesse Ventura carries in Predator.
Yes, he had to tell me that while we were watching.
Yeah.
Because we just watched Predator.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to show you that gun is not something that a person carries. It's something that's mounted to the side of a helicopter.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, it's cool because you can fire thousands of rounds out of this thing. And then they're like, Morpheus like breaks out of his handcuffs and
never break the chain.
And he takes a run for the helicopter. And he gets shot in the leg, but he jumps and he's able to grab Neo by the hand.
Yeah.
And Neo like bungee jumps out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He like ties himself or like holds on to something from the inside of the helicopter. And so like he like grabs him by the hand and they're like flying through the air and he like drops Morpheus on a building top.
Yeah. But also when they make that jump, because they jump towards each other and they grab each other. But Tank is watching this back on the ship and he says, I knew it. Like he knew that Neo was the one. And then so they fly off and they drop Morpheus on a building and then the helicopter starts to crash. So Neo grabs the bungee cord and holds on to it and the helicopter falls and hits the side of the building and there's this weird ripple effect.
Yeah, but before it hits the building, Trinity like cuts the cable that was tied to Neo.
Yeah.
And Neo knew to grab onto the cable that he had tied onto him. And so he grabs onto it, she grabs onto it, and he pulls her to safety.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the helicopter continues to fall and she's still holding on to the bungee. Yeah. It was cool.
It was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And then
they show Morpheus and Morpheus sees it and he's like, yep, he's the one.
So they go down to the subways.
Yeah. Well, they go down to the subway so that they can
go back,
escape, right?
And they find a payphone, and so they call Tank and they tell him where the thing is, and so there's this homeless guy, and they see Neo and all of them.
And I think this is when Trinity was about to tell him, right?
Yes. So that was what I was about to say.
Okay.
So Tank calls in, and then they take Morpheus first, and then he calls again and he tells Trinity to go next. And she goes, I don't understand because everything the Oracle has told me has been true except the last thing. The last thing hasn't been true, which is that she's going to fall in love with the one. And I think that was saying that she's fallen in love with him, but I don't think she thinks he's the one.
Yeah.
She doesn't think he's the one yet, but he is. But she's like, I've fallen in love with you. Or maybe it's the other way around. Like, she's like, you're the one, but I'm not in love with you.
No, she's definitely in love with him.
Oh, okay.
But she's not, I guess, 100% certain that he's the one. Or she does believe it, but he's saying that he's not.
I don't think she does believe it because he hasn't. Like, I don't think she's. Because even whenever he's in the Matrix without them, they are expecting him to die, but he ends up not. So I think if he wouldn't have died, that's when they know he's the one.
I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like a mixed emotion type thing. It's like maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But
yeah,
I think that's why she starts to tell him.
Yeah, she's
that
just like the last thing hasn't come true.
Yeah, but she kind of wants to tell him, like, I'm in love with you. So you kind of have to be, right?
Yeah.
So she's in one way telling him you are, but also asking him, like, I need you to tell me.
Well, she doesn't say that though. She just says the last thing.
I know
true,
she doesn't.
Which he doesn't know what she told him.
No, I'm saying I need you, Neo, to tell me. It's like one of those things where, like, you want to tell somebody that you're in love with them, but you don't want to because they might tell you that they're not. Mm-hmm. You know.
Okay.
Like, I could have confessed my feelings for you when we were first dating, but you could have been like, well, I don't like you, so.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those
okay
moments here.
But
that's the way I see it anyway.
Okay. But, well, because
I think she does believe that he's the one, but she's also, like, afraid of her feelings, too.
Well, because all she says is, the third thing hasn't come true. And then she goes into the phone. And you're like, well, what was the third thing? So, like, nobody knows what that third thing is until later on at the very end.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like, nobody knows nobody knows that they're supposed to be in love.
Right. Yeah, that's right. They still haven't revealed that in the movie yet.
So all it is like, what's the third thing? So the call ends and the agent goes into this homeless guy that's in the subway with them because he sees the phone ringing and he's like, what the heck? How are they disappearing in the phone? And the agent understands that they're there and he goes and finds them.
Yeah. And then right before Neo's going to go through the phone, he shoots the receiver.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, Neo.
And then they start fighting.
Yeah. And you're like, Neo is really starting to believe because he wouldn't try to fight the agent.
Yeah.
Right. But he does. And what did you think about the whole fight?
I thought it was really cool.
But like, what was your favorite part of
the freeze? Like, kind of like, I mean, all of it was really cool.
It wasn't the throat thing where he extends his finger.
And that was definitely really funny.
Here, watch this.
Where he's like here and he goes, don't.
Yeah, watch this. This is really funny. I'm showing Aaron the fight scene.
I can't breathe. Oh my gosh. That was perfect.
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you who are listening have seen this, but somebody edited the video of that fight and kept inserting the little throat tap over and over. It's like at least a dozen times.
Every time he goes to punch him, it's a throat tap.
I love the one where like he reverses it, so like most of the throat punches are on the left side of the screen, but there's one where Neo's punching him on the right side, so they reverse the image so that it lines up. It's really funny.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best parts. But it was really cool. Like he he throws Neo into the subway tracks, and there's a train or a subway. What is it called? A train?
Yeah, train.
Yeah. Okay. My brain.
Yeah. So Neo looks like he's gonna beat him for a little while, and then he throws him into the wall, and you can see him like throwing punches in his chest, like super fast. And then he throws him in the subway, and he holds him down in front of the subway car, and he's gonna let the subway car hit Neo, and then he's code, so he's just gonna disappear. But Neo punches him and flips out of the way. Mm-hmm. And then you think, like, oh, the train hit the agent, but then the agent comes out of the subway.
Yeah, as
train.
When the subway stopped, he went into someone else that was on the train, and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like you can't get away from him. So he runs up.
So this is the part in any action film that you should have where you go, okay, shit, like there's nothing you can do. Mm-hmm. It's all over. The good guy doesn't stand a chance, right?
Yeah.
This should be in every movie. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to run.
So he's like kind of running through, and he goes into a building at some point, and there's a phone that he's going to go through.
Well, he's running through the streets, and you see the agent like taking over different people to shoot at him and stuff. And then also those sentinels show up at the ship again.
Oh, yeah. And they're coming for their ship, and they can't turn the ship off because Neo is inside the Matrix. If they turn it off, he dies.
Right.
And so they're waiting to the very last minute. And so they can't even wait anymore because they already know where they're at.
Yeah, and this is great because they're cutting into the ship.
It's time.
Scary. It's scary as hell.
Ticking time bomb.
Yeah, your heart rate is up big time. And so the agents shoot Neo, right? And you think it's over. Mm-hmm. But then that's when Trinity leans over to him and it's like, the Oracle told me that I would fall in love with the one. So you can't be dead right now. Right? Is that what it is? Okay. So he gets up and they unload on him. Like all three agents just shoot at him, and he puts his hand out and he stops the bullets.
Yeah.
And he picks one out of the air, and then the rest fall to the ground. And then one of the agents runs at him or something. Mm-hmm. Oh, right. And then he's like throwing punches at him as hard as he can, but Neo's blocking him like
whatever,
like in slow motion, like Sonic in those scenes where Sonic is moving really fast on those movies. And then he hits him and he throws him back against the hallway. And this is kind of funny to me. He runs and like jumps in the guy's mouth or whatever.
Yeah, and he kind of explodes.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of silly, but whatever. And then that's when
I think he's kind of like jumping into his code, like they jump into other people's.
Yeah. Yeah. And you as a viewer fully understands like Neo can now do anything he wants in the Matrix.
Yeah.
And it shows his point of view, and he can see all that green code. Mm-hmm. So then they finally pull him back in the ship, and they hit the that shock thing, that shock wave, and it kills the Sentinels. And then him and Trinity kiss, right?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the end of the movie. They save the day. And then there's one scene left where it shows Neo on a phone talking to whoever it is they're going to pull out of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And then what's that song? Rage Against the Machine comes on. Mm-hmm. Come on!
Yep.
You know that song?
I just don't. I can't think of it right now.
I used to have that CD when I was a kid. All right, Aaron.
That one?
Yeah. Or is it the one where he goes, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
I won't do what you tell me. I won't do what you tell me." Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
One of those.
Remember.
But it's very fitting. Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. I would have to say probably the soundtrack and the score, probably the worst thing about this movie.
Yeah.
The score wasn't very good. They probably just wasted all their money on the visual effects. But
wasted.
No. Well, I mean, spent it.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't wasted because it looks amazing. But anyway, Aaron, on a scale of 1 to 9 cat lives, what do you rate The Matrix?
I rate this movie 8.5 cat lives.
Wow, 8.5.
Yeah.
Well, what lost that 1/2 cat life?
Well, I mean, I just feel like, is it a perfect movie? No. It's sci-fi, and sci-fi is not my favorite type of movie. It was really fun to watch. It was really interesting. There's a lot of action. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great movie.
So it lost a half a cat just because it's not really your type of movie?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. It's fair. I agree.
Okay.
Okay. Joey, what is your rating, 1 to 9 cat lives for this movie?
I am going to give this movie 9 cat lives.
Wow.
Right? It is a really great movie. Like, everything that they set up pays off.
Mm-hmm.
The third act is so exciting. It's a really long movie, but you don't realize how long it is.
Yeah, it doesn't feel too long.
It doesn't feel long. All the fight scenes and the characters and like even Keanu Reeves' kind of like stiffness works really well in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's perfectly cast. I like it for like the whole Wachowski's being trans now and it kind of being like a parallel to that. It's got all like, it was such a huge cultural film and it was just parodied in so many things. Like, Family Guy and The Simpsons probably all had jokes about it and everything like that.
I mean, everyone does. Probably Simpsons probably has tons of them.
Yeah, so a big part of it getting 9 cat lives from me is because of the cultural phenomenon that it was.
Iconic.
And all the Academy Awards it won. So that's why it gets 9 lives for me. Not because it's one of my favorite movies, because it's not. But yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Cool. For the last thing that we're going to do, we are going to do a little story time of glitches in the Matrix.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh. I'm going to tell you some stories where people had glitches in the Matrix. Okay. So, our first story, I think I saw reality pause.
Reality pause?
Pause, like 2 parallel lines.
Oh, did this person have the remote from Adam Sandler's Click?
Maybe. First of all, I'm happy I found this Reddit, as I don't know where else I could have posted this. And I've spent so long thinking I was crazy. So I grew up in a town in the UK and I had a lot of canals, woods, rivers, and fields. I was around 20 to 21 years old and I went for a walk. There was always a lot of wildlife to see in this area, and a butterfly flew around me and in front of me, and it just froze, mid-flight, mid-air, in an open space. I remember catching up to it and moving around it, and then out of nowhere, it went out from being frozen in mid-flight time to moving again. It just flew off, and I've never managed to get my head around what happened. What do you think about that?
Wow, so they saw a butterfly pause in midair?
I've heard people have had experiences like that with birds.
Wow.
Like birds will just be frozen in midair.
You know what? I feel like I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
That is pretty crazy.
So
So what do you think the glitch was in the Matrix? What were they changing?
I mean, ugh. I wasn't expecting that.
You don't have to answer that.
Yeah. Maybe that butterfly was getting a second life and they had to reboot it.
Maybe.
So that it was re-downloaded.
It's also kind of funny that, they say the butterfly effect,
yeah.
and it was a butterfly.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
So, something else is like the whole idea of like the glitch in the Matrix. People say it's because you're going to a different dimension because there's like multi-dimensions.
Oh, right.
So that's another way to think about it. Instead of just like a glitch in the Matrix, it's a glitch in the dimension.
Dimensional glitch.
The dimensional glitch. Okay. Our next story is keys appeared. Explanation? So strange that this thread popped up in my feed after telling my friend this story about 5 days ago. I never told anyone this story. I convinced myself for years I must have had so much anxiety I blacked it out, but my boyfriend at the time experienced it. Long story short, it's not that short. I was supposed to go pick up my then boyfriend. He and I had been arguing quite a bit during the time, and that morning he asked me to come pick him up as he was done with his bender and ready to come home. I agreed, but then I couldn't find my keys, which was honestly typical of me, but I always eventually found them. However, this time I remembered I spent nearly an hour and I just couldn't find them. So I finally called him and said, "Hey, I can't find my keys. You'll have to ask your friend to drive you home." Mind you, he was about 50 minutes away, and while he was on his way, I continued to look for my keys. When he got home, he and his friend helped me look for my keys. Eventually, we were exhausted. I was about to give up. I remember clearly I was in one corner of my room and he was on the other. I see at the corner of my eye something on the nightstand, and there were my keys, nicely placed on the nightstand. Nothing else was on the nightstand, so it was clearly visible. We were so confused on how the three of us could have missed that. When I told my friend this story, she said I probably wasn't supposed to drive that morning, and it saved me.
Oh.
Have you ever had any kind of experience like that where it's like you can't find something, or you like there is something missing and like
You realize it was in your pocket the whole time?
yeah. And it's like I know I looked in my pocket.
Yeah. I guess I have had stuff like that, but I didn't make it like think that it's like, oh, it was a glitch in the Matrix or.
Yeah.
But I like that her friend was like, it was because you weren't supposed to drive.
Yeah.
It would be so more dramatic if it was like, there was an accident on the road at the same time.
I know.
But it was just like, no, you weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I hate like, that is so annoying when something gets lost and you're just looking everywhere and everywhere and everywhere. And then it just pops up in the most obvious place.
Yeah. Well, like there's been several times where my purse is like, I think it's its own computer program that like takes things and loses them and then brings them back all of a sudden, because I have like lost keys in there. Like I've been at school or at work and I'm trying to find my keys in my purse and I look in every single pocket. I'll dump my purse out and I cannot find them. I'll go look somewhere else and then I'll go look in my purse again and it's like right in the pocket where I usually put them. Yeah. And it's like, what? I looked in here. Now
that you explain that, I will be at work and I'll be like, I need this tool. And I will look through my toolbox 20 times. Like I have my toolbox organized and things are laid out. And I'll look through it and I'll look through it and I'll look through it. I'll be like, I must have lost it. And then I'll be mad at myself that I lost this tool. And then like a couple hours later, I'll look in my box and it was like where I leave it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. What happened?
I know, yeah.
And then I'm relieved that I don't have to buy a new tool.
I know, for real. or buying a new tool or something that you needed, and then you're like, and then you find it the next day. And that is so frustrating.
Oh, that is annoying.
Okay. I think I drove through a wormhole or something. These are fun. Okay.
Yeah, we should do a whole podcast about this.
People do.
I know they do.
Okay. I think I drove through a wormhole or something. Woo! Hold on. This one's long. Maybe not. That would take me half an hour to read. Okay.
Yeah, let's do one more short one because we're almost at 2 hours here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Beer bottle evaporated?
What?
Okay. I've always seen posts about glitches in the Matrix and believed them, but never thought it would happen to me. But I was drinking a Blue Moon out of a glass bottle in my room. I know. Blue Moon is, I think, my favorite beer.
It's good.
I was sitting in my bed cross-legged and my cat was scratching at my door to be let in. When I moved to get up, my knee knocked the bottle that was in my hand and it went flying. I saw beer splatter all against the wall. It covered my stuff, side table, wall, and the chair in the corner. It was a small room. I was worried about the broken glass, so before letting my cat in, I went to pick it up. But there was nothing. I checked under the chair, in the corner of my room, where it should have landed. Everywhere. I moved the chair and my side table and nothing. I'm happy because there's no broken glass to clean up, but still so weird. I feel like the universe was just giving me a break, and I'm happy I finally experienced it. So I guess they knocked over their beer, but nothing was there. Like the bottle wasn't there.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
The Matrix giving you a break. Don't you, have you ever experienced something like that where you feel like there was some sort of cosmic energy that helped you out?
Yeah. So I used to be real religious, and when I would lose things, I would pray. And that's I would pray to Saint Michael because he's the saint of lost things.
I was just about to say that as a joke.
No,
he's
he
the saint
is.
of lost things.
He is.
Wow.
And so I would always pray and I would find him. And so I always felt like I would be like, please, I will be good if you just help me find this thing. And I would always find it a minute later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But it could be coincidence too.
I'm trying to think of something where it was just you needed these two things to line up perfectly and they just happened to.
Yeah, I feel like that happens to me a lot.
Yeah, it does, but I'm trying to think of an example of one that happened to me.
Well, okay, thinking of our lighting, because I'm a theater teacher, we would be installing lighting, and when we would be programming the lights, it would be 1 through 20, and then we would be able to skip and do 20 through 4, and it was always perfect.
Yeah.
So that's always nice because it's just 1-to-1.
Oh yeah, there's been times when I've been working on my project car, and I'm putting an engine in it that's not supposed to be in there, and I'll be like, please let these 2 bolt holes line up, and then they just line up perfectly.
Yeah.
I was trying to get axles to work. You have to put an axle from the transmission to the wheel, and I was like, please just let this one fit because I don't want to spend thousands of dollars to have a custom one made, and it did. It just barely fit. There was enough threads poking out through the spindle to put a nut on.
Yeah.
And then it didn't bind up the wheel or anything. I was like, oh, so lucky.
Here's a glitch in the Matrix. This is going to be the last thing. Here's a glitch in the Matrix that I have heard about and I've somewhat experienced it. And it's when you have an object and you only have one of them, or you only have a certain amount of them, and then you go back and you are using that one object, and then you find a second one that is the exact same replica, and you don't have a second one, but you all of a sudden now have a second one. I've seen people with cups. They have this specific type of cup. There was this one person that talked about it specifically. They had it was some type of character cup, and it had a specific chip in it. And she was like, I know it was in this one corner, and it was very specific, where it was at. It was on someone's head or something like that. And she they had one cup, and then they were in their cabinet, and they took out a second cup, and it was the exact same cup. It looked exactly the same. They had the chip in the same place, and it was an exact replica. The wear even was the same.
Wow.
And I feel like I can't remember in a time where it happened, but I feel like I've had that experience, but it may be deja vu.
Yeah, that's probably deja vu. Your brain just playing a trick on you. Yeah, but it's funny. It's fun to think about these things as glitches in the Matrix. They're not.
Yeah.
I don't believe we live in a simulation, but it is fun to just kind of ponder that.
Yeah.
And why the world is so these weird synchronicities, I think they call them.
Yeah.
Where these things like synchronize. It's just a coincidence, but they happen to synchronize. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it.
All right. Well, okay. We've got 2 more movies we're going to do for Action August, and I'm going to ask you which one you want to do next. So we have Roadhouse, the classic Patrick Swayze movie, but we also have a movie called Leon the Professional, which is a movie you've never seen, but I put it on here because I know you're a Natalie Portman fan,
Oh, yeah.
and that's one of the only actors you probably know their name.
I know Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, but anyway,
I know Reese Witherspoon.
I don't know how old she was. She was a child actor in this movie, and it's a very adult rated R movie, and she delivers a fantastic performance. And also it has Gary Oldman in it, who I really like. So what do you want to do next? Do you want to do Leon the Professional or Roadhouse?
Do you think I'll have lots to say about Leon the Professional?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's do Leon the Professional.
All right. So this episode's going to drop, and then a couple days later, because we're recording this one late, it's coming out late, so Leon the Professional will be hot on its heels.
Yeah, sorry guys. I just started a new district, a new school, and it's great, but it's a lot. So
yeah, we kept trying to record during the week, and she kept getting home too late, and
I
I'd
would be
too
exhausted.
tired.
Yeah, both of us would be exhausted.
Yeah. Oh,
I
the
came
other
home
day,
on Thursday and I died.
Yeah. Your eyes were like bloodshot one day. I was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, I was so tired.
Yeah. This week has been a lot, but thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah.
This has been Slay the Cat. Don't forget to slay and neuter your cats. You can email us at joeyanderinpod@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.